This is a reading from the Notebooks by Mary Valtorta, 1944, June 3rd, the first Saturday, 1:30 a.m. Mary says, I am the mother. Right. Every Saturday, observe the hour of my desolation. I shall bless you for spending the night between Friday and Saturday in this way. The first point and the third point are easy for you. You do nothing but reread visions and dictations which you have received. But the second point is painful for you because you must observe it on your own. In your description you said, Mary with the group returns to the house a short distance away. And if this suffices in the description, and in your weakness you could not offer anything else, it does not suffice for your prayer now. Write then, for your guidance, what I suffered at that time. And the footnote says, the vision alluded to here and the text which Mary dictates immediately afterwards were rewritten in 1945 to form the episode involving the return to the cenacle in the Passion cycle. Mary then says, do you know why I have given you these words only today? Because you no longer have the notebooks in which Judas's desperation is described. See note 297. I speak about it here, and this too is a proof that these are true matters, for someone inventing them on his own gets mixed up without any way to remember and falls into a lie. And you, exhausted and weak as you are, do not remember from 1 hour to the next. Have the priest who directs you, my servant, Father Migliorini, who belonged to the servants of Mary, take note of this. You, in fact, carried off the notebook on May 27th. The Italian edition at this point includes a vision of the apostles after Pentecost, June 3rd, which was later completed for the glorification cycle. June 7th, the Vigil of Corpus Christi. I write in the presence of my Master as Jesus, for me, entirely for me. He has returned after so long, entirely for me. You will ask, what do you mean? You have been seeing and hearing him again for almost a month. See the text for May 17th. And you say you have him after so long, and you say you have him after so long. I shall reply once again with what I have stated orally and in writing on several occasions. See, for example, the entry for May 13th in the Notebooks 1943. One thing is to see, and another to hear. And above all, one thing is to see and hear for others, and another to see and hear entirely for myself, exclusively for myself. In the former case, I am a spectator and a repeater of what I see and hear. But if this gives me joy, for there are always things which infuse a great joy, it is also true that it is a joy which is, so to speak, external. The term poorly expresses what I feel so distinctly, but I find no better one. In short, realize that my joy is like that of someone reading a good book or seeing a beautiful scene. The person is moved, savors it, admires its harmony, and says, how lovely to be in the position of this individual. Whereas in the latter case, that is, when hearing and seeing are for myself, this is individual, is then me. Rather, this individual is then me. The word I hear is for me. The figure I see is for me. It is him and me, Mary and me, John and me, alive, true, real, close, not in front of me, and as if I were seeing a motion picture passing by, but alongside my bed, or circling around the room, or leaning against the furniture, or seated or standing like living people, my guests, all of which is quite different from a vision for everyone. In short, all of this is mine. And today, rather, since yesterday afternoon, Jesus has been here in his usual robe of white wool, basically ivory white, so different in weight and shade from the splendid robe appearing to be made of immaterial linen, and so white that it looks like spun light, which covers him in heaven. See, for example, the entry for May 13th in the Notebooks 1943. He is here with his beautiful, long, tapering hands of a white color tending towards old ivory, with his handsome face, long and pale, where his dominating, gentle eyes shine of a dark sapphire, with his thick eyelashes of a hazel color, sparkling with reddish blonde. He is here with his long, soft hair of a reddish blonde, more intense at the illuminated points, and darker in the depths of its folds. He is here, and he smiles at me and looks at me, writing about him, the way he did in Viareggio, and as he no longer did after Holy Week. the period of desolation beginning on April 7th, giving me all that desolation which became a fever almost of desolation, when, to the pain I felt over being deprived of him, there was also joined the pain of being deprived of living where at least I had seen him, and could say, he leaned here, he sat there, he bent over here to rest his hand on my head, and where my parents had died. Oh, those who have not experienced this cannot understand. It is not that we demand the possession of all of this. We well know that they are gratuitous graces, and that we do not deserve to have them, nor can we demand that they last when they are granted to us. We know. The more they are given to us, the more we annihilate ourselves in humility, acknowledging our repugnant wretchedness as compared to the infinite beauty and divine wealth giving itself to us. But what do you say, Father? Doesn't a son wish to see his father and mother? Doesn't a wife wish to see her husband? And when death or a long absence deprives them of seeing the others, don't they suffer and find comfort in living where the other lived? And if they have to leave that place, don't they suffer twice as much because they lose even that place where their love was loved by the absent one? Can those suffering from this pain be reproached? No. And can I? Isn't Jesus my father and spouse? Dearer, much dearer than the dearest fathers and spouses? And judge his being such for me from the way I endured the death of my mother. See the dictation for October the 4th and 5th in the notebooks of 1943. I suffered, you know. I still cry because I loved her, in spite of her character. But you have seen how I overcame that hour. Jesus was there, and he was dearer to me than my mother. Must I tell you something? I have suffered and now suffer more over my mother's death, which took place 8 months ago, than I did then. Because in these last 2 months I was without Jesus for myself, and without Mary for myself, and even now it suffices for me to be left for a moment by them, and I then feel my desolation as a sick orphan more than ever, and I plunge back into the harsh human pain of those inhuman days. I am writing under Jesus' gaze, and thus do not exaggerate or deform anything. Besides, that is not my system. But even if it were, it would be impossible to persist therein under this gaze. I have written this here, where I usually do not, because in the visions of Mary, the visions pertaining to the major work on Christ's life, I do not mix in my poor self, for I already know I must go on describing her glories. Wasn't her motherhood a crown of glories at all times? I am very ill, and writing weighs heavily upon me. Afterwards I am washed out, but provided I can make her known, so that she will be loved more, I do not count the cost. Do my shoulders ache? Does my heart yield? Is my head in agony? Does the fever grow? It doesn't matter. May Mary be known, entirely beautiful and dear, just as I see her out of God's goodness and hers, and that's enough for me. This entry is followed by passages included in the life of Christ, which are omitted here. The adoration of the shepherds, the visit of Zechariah, June 8th, the flight into Egypt, June 9th, and the conclusion of the hidden life, June 10th, along with other related commentaries and annotations.